Hey, welcome along to the Redmen Originals podcast with me, Paul Machin, Chris Pajak, Chloe Bloxham and Dan Club. We're all back.
Finally.
I know. I can't... Someone in the comments might be able to tell us when was the last time the four of us were in a room doing a podcast together.
It's got to be early December.
Must be.
The first week of
City.
December.
Maybe the last time I was in.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Very good. And there's no reason other than I thought it was quite interesting. Chris just dropped a random piece of NFL knowledge. Go on, what was your gun-related thing?
You're not allowed weapon-related celebrations and stuff, so Mo wouldn't be allowed to do his bow and arrow celebration.
In the NFL?
Yeah.
Wow. I've often had this of I don't really see people's obsession. I've scored a goal. It's a great moment. I'm going to celebrate by pretending to machine gun down my supporters in the stands. I've never really understood that as a thing.
What if it was the way end?
I mean,
can you understand that?
I mean, so, you know what I mean? It's still a bit
I can understand why it's a fine.
It's only a game, lads. You know what I mean? They're just normal people coming to watch a game of footy, let them be, you know. Yes. They've got some terrible choice in chance and often, haircuts and that, but, do they deserve to be machine guns? Probably not. But yeah, okay, cool. Let's dive into it then. Liverpool, Manchester United. It was a 2-2 draw. We're going to be doing that. We're going to be talking about Tottenham Hotspur. We're going to be talking about Accrington Stanley because it's a busy old week of cup football for the Reds. But before we do, I just want to draw everyone's attention to some very cool stuff that we've got on redmenmerch.com right now, which I've randomly scrolled past, so I will scroll to the right place. Brand new t-shirt from Abby Rudkin, and also the hoodie, which is very sexily worn by Chris Page. You'll have to take my word for that, podcast listeners. Just imagine the sexiest man you've ever seen, and then put him in an Egyptian king painted hoodie by Abigail Rudkin, and that is what you've got basically. You could come over to YouTube and verify, but I wouldn't. Just take my word for it. That is exactly what I've got next to me right now. But over on redmenmerch.com, you can go there. If you've got a bit of Christmas dough burning a hole in your pocket, there's some amazing Liverpool-related t-shirts over that, at least of all that. And I've mentioned
And if you replace
before,
the word sexy for cuddly, you'd be accurate.
Cuddly can be sexy too. Yeah. It's that time of year.
Especially this time of year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you need that.
But yeah, mugs, t-shirts, and also it's the only place on earth where you can get the signed edition of The Man Who Stole the World Cup, written by John Machin and published by myself. So yeah, head over to redmenmerch.com and fill your boots on all of that good stuff. Okay. Liverpool 2, Man United 2. I'm not really sure what order to attack this. I was going to just do it chronologically and then swing back to some of the wider stuff. But I'll start with the wider stuff, then we'll go through the match and then we'll swing back to that, if any of that makes sense. And I know I can speak for Chris and Chloe as well, Dan, because I spoke to them post-match. Was really disappointed at full time yesterday. I felt a bit down in the dumps. Yeah, it was flat. I didn't really have a lot to say about the game, but I felt a bit better with it as time has sort of passed. And some of that is because I'm a bit annoyed by the coverage. Some of that is so there's a bit of a righteous fury that's been growing in me since watching Sky's coverage back and Match of the Day and that kind of stuff. But how are you generally feeling about it?
Listen, in the immediate aftermath, frustrated, disappointed. It felt like an opportunity missed, given what had gone before in terms of people dropping points around us. But then, once the dust settles a little bit and you watch it back and you sort of look at the league table a little bit more and make an assessment of where we're at, you can make peace of it because it's kind of as you were in terms of what happened. We haven't lost any ground necessarily. So, yeah, I think with a broader spectrum and a more level-headed approach, you can say, listen, when you take stock, what a start of the season has been ultimately. But still, when you do look at this match in isolation, it was really poor against a really poor Manchester United side. So, yeah, a difficult one to make sense of and to sort of square off, because at no point sort of in the build-up to this game, in the 3 or 4 days that sort of led up to it, did I think or anticipate we'd have such an off day. And so many of our players, individually and collectively, will be so below par. So all of those things kind of had to happen in order for that result to head that way. So it just annoyed me that it did. It all sort of conspired against us in 190-odd minutes of football.
I think there's a couple of comments here, Chris, that would kind of highlight, I think, the general feelings around this. So the first one is the first comment on the YouTube by Kem, which I can't seem to get up on screen because probably because Aaron's not in the room. I was a bit disheartened with our fan base's overreaction yesterday. After the dust has settled, I'm hoping there'll be a more level-headed reaction analysis today. I'm still positive for this season. But then a guy called this MF replied saying, 0 positives, I'm afraid. Everything good is overshadowed by the glaring issues around contracts and general lack of quality in certain areas. And like that I totally disagree with that second comment, which is the kind of thing that makes me feel a little bit more level-headed about this whole situation, really. That I agree with what Dan said there, Chris, is that I thought Liverpool were poor, and I think there are wider issues, and we're going to come on to Trent in a bit more depth later on in the show, because I think it's worth having that conversation. But I couldn't disagree less with the idea that there are 0 positives around Liverpool at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, if he's just talking about the game, I'd say McAllister was a positive for me. I thought he was outstanding. Probably the only player that I'd put above all the others by some distance. I was angry after the game. I was disappointed after the game. I'm still disappointed and angry at the performance. But now, having 24 hours, give or take, to look at the league table and to think about, well, Arsenal drew against the Brighton side that haven't scored many goals at home this season. Chelsea drew against the Crystal Palace side that are quite honestly terrible. And so of the 3 games this season, we haven't lost any ground, and our matchup for Liverpool was harder than the matchups for Arsenal, I think, and I think for Chelsea as well. So in that regard, it gives me some hope. But the big disappointment comes from the performance and the lack thereof. Now, I was going into the game and I was saying to Chloe in the car and you in the car, like 3-0 minimum. 3-0 minimum for Liverpool today, and that's an overconfidence from a fan, but it's allowed. It felt to me like that crept into the team, and that is really disappointing, disheartening.
We can only speak from the fan perspective as always, but I said that's using the card, is that what I didn't like going into the game was the level of expectation that had been placed to get it. And you might say, well, if you're going to win the league, then you need high expectations, and I do agree with that, Chloe, but just from a pure like jinx perspective, I hate that. It's one of my pet peeves in football. Oh no. But what I mean is, it's like the pride come before the fall, isn't it? And what we did was, everyone expected us not to beat Manchester United. Everyone expected us to batter Manchester United, and I think that feeds into the level of disappointment. Because if you go in there thinking 3s and 4s and 5s, and then you draw, then you feel like you do feel more disappointed than you would have done, instead of looking at it in a game in isolation. As much as I agree, United are shite and have been shite, so maybe it wasn't wrong of us to have those expectations.
No, I wasn't the person who had those expectations. I expected it was going to be a really, really tough game, and I thought Liverpool would have to, if they wanted to win that game, battle it out.
Chloe was predicting 7-0 in the car.
That was definitely not.
She wasn't, to be fair.
I absolutely
she was saying 8-0 without a shadow of a doubt.
No, wasn't me. It was not me at all.
She never gave us a prediction in the car yesterday, actually.
I never.
Chloe's too nervous before games.
I'm too nervous before games. And like you said, going into it, I think a lot of other people's and media expected Liverpool to go into this game and, it'd be one of them where it's one of the biggest defeats of the season, maybe for Man United, which would probably be hard to top with how they've been playing. But for me, I said before the game, no matter the gulf in quality on the pitch that you see or in the league table right now, it is still Liverpool v Manchester United. And teams, what I was so impressed with us at the start of the season when we went to Old Trafford was we didn't play the occasion. And so many times under Jurgen Klopp did we play that occasion at Old Trafford, and it felt like we played the occasion the other day. It felt like we were going into this game knowing that you could go, was it 9 points clear, with an extra game in hand on top of that. There was a lot of, well, we've got so much more quality than you. Look at the run of form we've been on. And I think I said to you before that, you said it's a good time to play United, and I went, the only bad side is Amorim has had a full week to try and drill something into his team, which he hadn't had before.
And also they've lost loads of games, and there comes a point where
on the bounce before this, wasn't it?
It sounds weird because it doesn't follow any football logic, but the more games you lose consecutively, almost the less likely you are to lose the one after that, which I know in a statistical sense doesn't really make sense, but it kind of does. People don't lose forever, and people don't go on winning runs forever. It becomes more unlikely the longer it goes. Let's just swing it back to the game before we go, come back to the wider stuff again. I thought the only really interesting selection well, there was two. One was forced by Szoboszlai's illness, but the other was Konate, Chris, starting. I thought that was quite bold to chuck him straight back in. I thought there were times in that game where I was very, very, very glad that we did, but I do think that contributed a little bit in the back end of the game towards a few of our issues, because ultimately he's not played footy in 5 games, 6 games, 8 games.
More, I think,
So the checks and balances against it all. We were at time. I thought he had quite a good game, Konate, but also that was the balance of gamble in putting him in.
Yeah, listen. As soon as I saw his name on the team sheet, I was made up. Yeah. Absolutely made up. There was no thoughts of, is he going to be fit enough to last the 90? Because I think I'm more sort of okay with it, because Slot has been so reticent to use people that aren't okay to play a 90. If Slot decides that he's okay, then that's a good thing, and it says, you know what, this guy, we were talking about it last week, weren't we, Chloe, where it's like, or maybe it was with you, Paul, where it's like Klopp would say two or three training sessions and you're back in. Slot's not like that. So if Slot says Konate can play, then Konate can play, as far as I'm concerned. And also I think, it was probably the right type of a game for him. Obviously you knew that they were going to try and target behind Trent Alexander-Arnold, so his strength, his reading of the game, his ability to break out from the back was obviously going to be necessary, and I think Højlund was going to try and go up against both centre-halves, and probably Konate's experience obviously gives him the nod over Kwanzaa there, so I was fine with it. And I think when you think of post-game, he doesn't need to play for the next 2, so he's got really good recovery time as well. Listen, he might well start, but I felt like he had the option to not start him in the next 2 games, of course. So that was an interesting one. The other big one, again, is obviously Diaz starting in the number 9 position, again, which I think, his performances warrant him starting in that position. Other than that, I was made up with the side. And I wasn't made up with the performance, and slightly different to Chloe, but from the same sort of stable, I suppose. I just don't think Liverpool played very well. I don't necessarily think it was an occasion thing. It felt to me like just a lacklustre performance that you get sometimes. Yeah,
and look, you're dead right on that. And look, Manchester United got the game that they came for. I think is part and parcel of that as well. First half was interesting, Chloe, because the balance of the game was mad. Because I think we were brilliant for 25 minutes maybe in that game. We were creating chances. Gakpo has a good chance, McAllister has a really good chance. We're dominating it, and I've watched the highlights back since, and I still can't quite figure out. There's just a 5 or 10 minute spell where United just seemed to get in at us loads. And then we then wrestled it back a bit, not totally to all of our way, but I thought we settled it down for the rest of the half. The atmosphere around me was very negative at half time, I thought. So I made a point of looking at the stats, and it was our game by all accounts. But again, maybe it's a cop thing where their best chances were all right in front of us, and our best chances were the other end of the pitch, and that kind of thing. What was your feeling at half time?
My feeling at half time was that we just struggled to break them down. You had Salah far too wide. He wasn't influencing the play as much as we wanted him to, and I don't think we got Diaz into the game enough. Gakpo, that McAllister chance that we talk about there, the triangles on the right hand side is what caused that, and pulling players out of position. They were very much far at the back, so to create the space, you've got to pull Martinez out or someone like that out of position to then enter that space. And I think Liverpool just at times got a bit too frustrated, and I think we really, really struggled to beat the lines of their midfield and get the likes of Curtis Jones or Ryan Gravenberch on the half turn in dangerous positions. Like you mentioned, there is 2 big chances there, but they're the only chances that I can really think of that were meaningful chances from Liverpool. And I just thought we were a little too far away from each other to try and create the space, which, they've gone 5 at the back, so they're always going to be deep. You're going to have to find different ways to play. As for them, that 10-minute spell, it just felt like you could see it happening in front of you, and some of the players weren't recognising the danger, and you might have got like 2 seconds respite where you're winning the ball back. They had a flurry of chances, they get a couple of corners, or we managed to make a couple of blocks. And the thing that was frustrating me was we'd win the free kick after being under the cosh a little bit, and Trent would just volley a ball to their defender out of pure frustration and anger with his own performance, and it's like, no, lad, just calm it for 5 minutes. It's like the first half. You don't need to find a breakthrough right now.
I think we struggled with the balance in that game, Dan, like all the way through of when do you be cool and calm, when are you quick and decisive, and I think that the way Man United setup actually played into our hands or their hands a little bit with that as well, where they never totally overcommitted. Not as much as you might expect for a team that's supposed to be, we keep saying 5 at the back, but Amarim's meant to be 3 at the back and it's meant to be 2 wing backs and blah, blah, blah. But they had a lot of men, they had a lot of defensive bodies in there. And actually that moment, the amount of times, particularly second half, where lads were looking at each other going like, what are you doing? Move it quickly. And actually one thing we've done really well this season is known when to be fast and when to be slow, and it felt like we were slow when we needed to be fast and we were faster when we needed to be slow too many times in that game.
Absolutely, we really struggled to sort of strike up any sort of real rhythm, and we really struggled to control the game, and that sort of spoke to how end-to-end it was at times. Even in that first half, it became a little bit frantic, and Arne Slot would not have been impressed with that at all. Manchester United had far too much joy, and I think Manchester United grew in belief as that first half wore on, because they could sense that a lot of our lads were off it and it wasn't working. I think Luis Diaz was very much on the periphery of matters. I haven't really thought this since Diaz went into that role. It felt like we were actually crying out for a centre-forward, a proper centre-forward at times, because I think Ryan Gravenberch once or twice does turn his man. Cody Gakpo does it as well. And there's just nobody making that centre-forward type run. Like Diaz is sort of holding himself away, and it's not really happening.
That was lacking all game long, and it was telling that we were good when someone made that run. McAllister and Gakpo's chances come from someone making a more centre-forward like run for us. He clearly decides, Chris, that the Jota substitution in the second half, I think, is born of that, of going, no Szoboszlai, I've not got anyone who naturally wants to do that, so fuck it, I'll put my striker basically in that position instead. And that was it. What you needed was a bit more bravery ultimately, because they had so many bodies back there. We were getting outnumbered.
I think you're both absolutely spot on there, and I put it down to the fact that it was a double substitution. I think Núñez and Jota on paper were the right substitutes. And why I think that was the case is exactly what Dan's saying about Diaz there. I think what happened after about 15 minutes is Martinez started to follow Curtis Jones into the middle of the park, and they would drop into essentially a 4 at the back behind him, and we needed someone to go and challenge Harry Maguire as he was moving over. And unfortunately, Diaz was dropping with Jones, and we just needed someone in that space, which is why I thought that, the Jota and Núñez substitution was right. The problem I felt with Núñez's performance is he doesn't go to the right-hand side of the pitch very often. So the gap's over there on the left of their defence, but Núñez is on the right of their defence. And it's like, well, I thought Slot would have been saying, go and find that space on Harry Maguire's shoulder, because if we can control the ball with Jota there, we're going to hit you. And it never really broke like that. And I don't know whether that was the thoughts, by the way. But
do you remember that episode of the Cape Fear episode of The Simpsons, where the Simpsons get a new identity and they have to tell Homer Simpson to react to the name Mr. Thompson, not Mr. Simpson? There's every chance that Arne Slot has told Darwin Núñez repeatedly that that's actually what he wants. But I'm in this, I don't like bashing current Liverpool players, but I've been one of the staunch defenders of Darwin, if only because he's excited me a lot during his Liverpool career. But that was one of the most brainless performances I've seen from him. So you're right, but I've got no idea whether that's him under instruction doing that, or that's just him being a mad bastard. Because I had someone say, well, he can speak English now, so he'll be able to understand. But I'm sure I saw an interview with a Liverpool player, maybe it was like one of those Christmas theme ones, where they mentioned the fact that he doesn't really speak a lot of English still. There was an opportunity there for him to be a real threat to them, and he really wasn't at all.
No, he wasn't, and he gets into some silly situations as well. Obviously, he picks up a yellow card, which is nonsense. He shouldn't be doing that.
Could have gave a pen away.
That was terrible.
I was the other end of the stadium, and I thought it was a nailed on.
It was right in front of us, and he just drags a player across the 6-yard box and essentially power slams him to the floor at a corner. And thankfully, the ref went no like that, like saw it and went like that, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, okay, fair enough. It was crap, and he wasn't very good. But
there was a lot
of shit performances there, and I don't think it's fair to pin the blame on Darwin Núñez on this one. And listen, I lost my head with him in December 2023. So I feel like I'm probably not the person to sort of back him up here, but like, it wasn't a good performance. I don't know whether it was Arne Slot's tactics. I wouldn't like to say whether he'd asked him to do the running in behind Martinez. I think that's unfair to criticise someone for some instructions that he may or may not have got.
Yeah.
It just felt to me like that's where the space was.
I'm not sure. I don't know what. He just felt like an X factor, and that's cool. But he's becoming less effective as an X factor for us at this point. You know what I mean? The X factor you're looking for is Newcastle away last season, but he's got a very simple job there: get on the shoulder, run in behind, and shoot. Whereas he had a great run, didn't he? Where he held off a couple of guys and won a free kick really early on after coming on. But that was about it, and it's a strange one because again, talking about the balance of the game, we didn't start the second. I was comfortable at half time. I saw people were a bit miserable, and I checked the stats, and it backed up what my general sense of. We've been okay. They've had a couple of little sniffs, but we've largely had the better of it. I'm sure we'll improve second half because we always do. We didn't start the second half well, and then we conceded, and then the substitutions are already happening when we score the equaliser, and I'm not sure whether then it's maybe the right game plan or whatever. But the second half just didn't go to the normal plan that I've come to expect from second halves for us. No,
it didn't. And like you said at half time, I was sat there going, we've got in at 0-0, and usually at half time, Arne Slot's identified something, we improve on it, and we come out a much better second half team. So I was hoping that was the case, and obviously it wasn't. Some really poor defending and lack of covering and tracking runners got us 1-0 down. And like you said there, you could see the substitutions coming on. And when you saw Jota, everyone was like, okay, yeah, we can understand that.
He got up a minute before, didn't he? Everyone saw Jota, and then was like, when we scored, and it's like, Nunes as well.
Yeah. So, and the goal, by the way, it's brilliant by McAllister, and what a finish it is by Cody Gakpo. Yeah. And from there on out, for the next 5-10 minutes, you just thought Liverpool this is it. Like, Liverpool are going to go on now, and we obviously get the penalty. But it was surprising to still bring two of them on, just because you were losing a midfielder, and it still felt like Liverpool had no control over this game of football. But I actually think once we go 2-1 up, the madness is to not change it and go, you know what, guys, we've got too many attackers on the pitch now. Why don't we just bring on another midfielder and take someone off? And as soon as Cody Gakpo went off, my head dropped a little bit, because I just felt like he was the main outlet.
That became the problem, Dan, because we made that double substitution. What can you then do? But when it then goes to 2-2 as well, what's left? And what was left was what we did. But because you've changed your two attackers, and you're not going to bring Darwin off.
It's cage for Salah, isn't it?
Exactly. Why you're not going to take Salah off. And this is the problem with having too many centre forwards at this point. You've taken Diaz off. Diaz is kind of the player at 2-2 you really want on the pitch, whether he's knackered or not. But he's obviously long. He's long off at that point. It wasn't.
Sorry, I'd love to know if the plan was Diaz until Gakpo scored.
I think Gakpo's coming off. Before we scored, 100% I do, 100% I do. And I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying, like, when the camera panned to him, he was like, he looked over and he was surprised and then scores. Like, I'm sure that's how it played out. I'm positive of it. Him scoring kept him on the pitch, essentially. I'm still quite shocked that immediately, because once he scored the goal, brilliant goal, by the way, Clive, absolutely spot on, probably the best moment of quality we showed all game, I think. But Slot turns to Sipka Hulshoff and John Heitinger immediately, and it's almost as if they're going to change the plans, but they still carry on with a double striker substitution to go with 4 frontmen on the pitch. So I was a little bit surprised by that.
He's done that before this season. I can't remember the game, but when we've scored and he's kept with the substitutions.
I don't hate it, because ultimately,
if you've analysed it, that's what the game needs.
And the game wasn't working. We were losing too many battles, it wasn't happening. So to change the way the game was happening, regardless of the scoreline, does make some sense. It felt
like we were chasing it. That was a move to chase the game.
Can I just say, the goal changes that. The goal changes that for me.
But if we've been shit, we've been shit.
No, I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
But there was your spark. Anfield's now alive. And I believe,
it didn't work, that spark,
whether we had those 2 players on or whether we only made 1 substitution, Anfield still would have created the atmosphere where Liverpool was relentless for the next 5 minutes at least.
Absolutely. And that bit of magic from Gakpo did seem to inspire the entire team for 10 minutes, because that was our best 10-15 minute spell of the entire game. From 1-0 down to 2-1, when we were good. It was when we went 2-1 up that we lost our way a little bit somehow again. It was...
And because ultimately we've got 4 up front.
Yeah.
Because we've made that substitution. And I mean, the option there was, in hindsight, and I hate doing this, but we do this for talking's sake. Maybe you don't bring Darwin and Jota on. You do bring Jota. I think you bring Jota on. I think you do, because he's going to cause a bit more of a box threat for you. But you've got Elliott there if you wanted to refresh the midfield. If you want to take Jones off because he's been overplayed, and he's been overplayed because Szoboszlai's not been available. So fair play, but you could have done that. And again, he's obviously just not thought it's the right time or situation for Elliott or whatever. But it did mean that when we made those subs a bit late on, I thought the Bradley one was fine. But you could have done something. You then could have done something clever with that. I don't know. Could you have moved Trent into midfield and kept him? I know he was crap, and we'll come to that next. But you could have moved Trent into midfield and took a midfielder off instead if you really wanted to change things up. I don't know. It was maybe it was just one of those things where we're over.
I think you're in danger throwing the baby out of the bathwater. I mean, Slot's made so many good decisions in the second half, so many good substitutes. You don't want him second guessing himself in big games. I mean, you've got to put that trust into him. I think it was the right decision to make the double substitution for what it's worth, because I think I'm sort of with Dan on this. If you've analysed that this is what the game needs, yes, the game state has changed slightly, but it's a substitution to win you the game.
Yeah,
that's what it was at 1-0 down or at 1-1 for me. So yeah, he might have taken a couple of minutes and thought about it. But I still think ultimately he probably still makes that substitution.
Yeah, it's interesting though. In 70 minutes is when we go 2-1 up from the penalty, and I thought we were going back to be more of a team that goes, we're winning this now. Cool. We've got our lead, all the best. And we certainly started the season like that, but actually this last month, 6 weeks, I don't think we've had that level of control. And that's I guess it's almost the point, that is that there was maybe an opportunity there for us. And this goes back to making the double substitution, because if you want to take one of your attacking lads off the pitch, you're taking Gakpo or Salah off, and if you take Gakpo off, it means that either Darwin or Jota's playing from the left hand side, which I don't think he wants to particularly do in that situation. But I don't think we covered up enough, and maybe that. And again, you're right. He's got things immeasurably more correct but I do think that was one of them where it didn't feel like we were protecting what we've got. Maybe we got a bit carried away. I don't know whether that's the players on the pitch or the game state. It didn't feel like we went gung-ho really at it either. It just felt like we were between two stools. We weren't solid defensively and we weren't really threatening too much attacking wise.
Without a shadow of a doubt, yeah. And I make you right on the point about sort of this has been happening quietly for a little while now. It feels like we've got away with it. It could have been brilliant. We've won a lot of football games, but we haven't quite had the same sense of control. There's one or two games, maybe the Man City Real Madrid double-header is the last time I really remember us just dominating a game from start to finish. There have been a couple of games on the way whereby we might have won or got the result that we so desired, but haven't really felt like us.
I mean, I'd throw West Ham into that.
Yeah, but they're crap. It's kind of the point, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean against a team that actually gonna, give it. But then you look at, Newcastle in good form. It's a different conversation slightly. Fulham came to Anfield. I know the red card was a red card, but played Southampton and never really got to grips with that. I
personally put that down to Canate not being available for a lot of those games, and it may turn out that it's not.
I think personnel plays a big part in this, and it comes back to the game yesterday in terms of what could he have done for the bench to try and give us that control or try and allow us to sort of dominate proceedings from there on out once we got the scoreline in our favour. But I would look at the players on the pitch and ask them to take responsibility and ask them to recognise the game state and the fact that we found ourselves leading this game of football somehow, whereas it didn't really feel like we ever should have been. So take ownership of it.
Yeah, we're winning the game and we're playing 4-2-4 at home. You know what I mean? That should be, if you're being professional there, you do something. But I just think maybe the choice of substitutions made that next set of substitutions to change that more of an awkward conversation, because at the minute, if you go back to 4-3-3, Jota's playing as a midfielder to make that a reality with the players on the pitch. So then what are you going to do? You've got to take what you've got. I said it's Gakpo or Salah that's got to come off probably to balance that back out to bring a midfielder back on. You know what I mean?
Endo for Jones are possible at that
You're
point.
either taking you're taking
He came
McAllister.
off
Jones had
for...
Yeah, McAllister or
Nunes, I
Gravenberch's
assume.
coming off, or you're taking one of the front four off to bring
Endo on.
Endo on, which you could have done, but I don't think.
I thought as soon as we went 2-1 up, Endo was coming on that pitch, and he didn't come on that pitch, and he really should have came on that pitch. Liverpool just didn't.
Didn't
the
manage
point
the game.
is, you know what? Like, I'm not having a slot at all. Like, he's tried to make the changes, and he's got enough credit so far this season in doing such things. Maybe if the players on the pitch just played better, you wouldn't actually be in that situation where he's got to go gung-ho for it. But I thought once we'd gone 2-1 up, because that period after we get the goal with Cody Gakpo, I didn't think the changes needed to be instant, because once again, for me, in your head, it changes, like, just the atmosphere, everything, the mood. And also the fact that as soon as one went in, everyone went, okay, so we're going to be scoring a second at some point here. And I think Liverpool had gotten some dangerous positions, but the final ball always landed at the feet of a United player inside the area. There was no one like a Dom or a Curtis Jones entering the box and being that extra player in the box. And then you have the problem of that it's so unbalanced. They still had chances. They were still getting us time and time again. Bear in mind, the main problem of it all was happening from minute 10 to whenever Trent went off. Like, that happened all game.
Should we talk about Trent? Because I'll start with you, Chloe.
Oh yeah.
Again, around me, I mean, there was a lot of negativity surrounding Trent Alexander-Arnold's performance. It's interesting actually. Match the Days analysis. They went 99% or 9 times out of 10.
Then showed the one
instance where he actually got back and tackled Dalot, and that was the one that was stuck in my mind when I was thinking about whether he'd had a bad game or not. Was that I remembered him getting back and doing the one really good thing in front of me.
It's because he's not in the screen or not in 20 yards of most of it, Paul. That's
Still at the halfway line.
But look, it would be remiss of us not to mention the wider context around it. Mm-hmm. My problem with Trent is, while this contract stuff rumbles on, he is going to have to play at an 11 out of 10 level every single week. Otherwise, people are going to accuse him of having his head turned or not being on it. I've seen Henry Winter's been discussing it. I've seen journalists, fans, all kinds. Slot's the only one who's publicly come out and said, I don't think it's distracted him at all. I just thought that the guys he was up against had a better game than him, which is, I think, is a really good way to handle that situation. But I'll start with Chloe and then we'll move around. But do you think that that's it's impossible for us to know, but it's very easy to put two and two together.
What I will say is months ago he could have shut this all up by just saying, at the moment I'm a Liverpool player, nothing's been decided yet on my future, but I'm trying to win a Premier League title. So actually, that's not even in my mind state right now. Yeah. That'll get sorted when it gets sorted, but it's in the back of my mind. Then you have Real Madrid coming and putting a 20 mil bid on the table. They do not do that unless there's some kind of positive talks or go on, you can maybe try it. Like, there's I'm not having that. Real Madrid have just decided to put a 20 mil bid on the table and get completely rejected for nothing.
Sorry, Chloe, anyone in disagreement with that?
Not at all.
I think they could.
I think it's very much for the Real Madrid playbook to do things without.
I think there's only one football club that goes in for a player when they don't know whether he's coming, and it's us. Everybody else finds out whether we should make the bid first, and that's what Real Madrid have done.
They could test the water, of course.
But I think if you're Trent, then everything's just like everyone's talking. You don't want that. Like, why would you want that, right? It's your boyhood club. I'd see that as disrespectful. Yeah. Because I'm trying to win a league title with my boyhood club. It might be my last year. And at least if I give them that league title, maybe things won't be as bad as they see him, because he knows he's going to get crap no matter whether he gives us a league title or not, because he's leaving his boyhood club to go to a team who he's deemed bigger.
Who we really dislike as well.
Yes, who we dislike as well. But on that, I don't want to say it's got to him, because he's an unbelievable footballer and he'll go back to being great, in a couple of weeks. And it's maybe just one of those games. But what I will say is he hasn't helped himself out, because by not addressing it and by not shutting it up or saying something, and by doing the celebrations and things like that at West Ham, all you're doing is fueling the fire. All the media speculations on it, which means then Liverpool fans get angry with it and everything gets blown out of the water. You've then got Real Madrid putting in a bid in January when you're trying to go for a league title. Nothing's helping you, because all it's doing is gonna put your performances under so much more scrutiny. That is all it's going to do. So it's not good for you. It's not good for Liverpool. And actually, I mean, Real Madrid will buy you either way. But it's also not great if you leave after not being great in a period.
It shows a naivety of the wider situation. I don't think this is all on Trent. This can be on his management. And I look at Liverpool and how they're handling the contract situation. We're part of it. Real Madrid will be a part of this. But he is under so much more scrutiny, Dan. He just is. So every time something doesn't quite go his way, there's going to. We had a little chat about it in the car. I don't know whether we heard something on the radio or what. I certainly hear people say this idea of him playing as though he didn't want to get injured. Like I'm playing like he wasn't going flat out because he doesn't want to pull a hamstring or get injured. And this is where you start to get into conspiracy theory territory. But actually, the lack of information and the lack of facts and the lack of bit of public facing knowledge on this stuff is fertile soil for conspiracy, and that's what we're going to get into. We're getting into the world of body language experts coming back out again. So if he has a bad game, then people are going to accuse him of not putting a shift in. I don't know enough about it to say what was definitely on his mind and what was not on his mind, but he had a bad game on the back of everything that Chloe said there. It's not a good look at the moment.
No, far from it. And as Chloe mentioned as well, the spotlight is well and truly on him, because this has been a story for quite some time now, amplified by what happened on New Year's Eve with Real Madrid making that approach. And of course, we spoke last week about the celebration and what that might or might not have meant. He'll be well aware of the fact that Real Madrid have made this, whether he wanted them to or not, whether it was a prior conversation, whether the green light had been given. So to then put in a performance like that on the back of all of this does nobody any favours at all. And it was, I think it's the worst I've ever seen him play. I'll put it out there. I just think it's the worst I've ever seen him play. Everything about it was off. He's had moments in the past whereby you think, his passing's been astray a little bit or his defending's not been, but this, from start to finish, was abysmal, more or less. And sorry, just quickly, I'm never one to question somebody's professionalism, whether the heart was in it or not. It's the last thing I want to do. But his face, I know you're talking, portrayed somebody with 1,000 thoughts in their mind, and he didn't look like he knew he was coming to go in. When he got took off, he looked broken, and I'm not hugely surprised. And whatever is going on inside his head right now needs sorting quick, because Liverpool are going for a title. Liverpool are going for other glory elsewhere. If he's going to be a part of this, he needs to sort that out, because he can't step foot on the pitch while his mind's wherever the hell it was yesterday. Can
I just say that it would have helped him. Look, he was a horrific defendant, awful. Absolutely, I mean, his whole performance was awful. But usually he has moments of brilliance where you go, okay, well, that kind of makes up for, you've got to balance it here with the good and the bad. His passing was horrendous. His work ethic, I'm so sorry. I didn't realise how bad it was, those goals inside that ground, because we're the other end to those United goals. But when you watch them back, Martinez's goal, the way he gives the ball away constantly, and by the way, in the first half, he was getting frustrated and angry with himself. And what you needed was him to either have a moment of pure, get it out, take a yellow, do something, boot a ball away, fine, whatever. But what he was doing constantly was from free kicks he was just booting the ball back to them out of anger. He was forcing things far too much and going for the exceptional pass when a simple pass could have just been done and we'd have been on it.
Well, we had this conversation in the car, Chris, and because you were talking about Andy Robertson and saying how Andy Robertson had another very Andy Robertson this season kind of performance where a lot of the stuff he did was really good, but he started to miss a few moments. Robertson's way of digging himself out is to dig in and to be more resolute and to put a big tackle in or whatever. And Trent's way of digging himself out is to produce a moment only him on earth can kind of produce. But if that's then not working for you, then it's almost impossible. You're going to look like you've had the fucking worst game ever.
He did.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's unfortunately just the way he moves, the way he runs. It feeds into the narrative quite easily that he doesn't give a shit because he looks quite lethargic. And when he's having a bad game, he looks even more lethargic than normal. And that's not good for every fan in there who is already in their mind questioning whether he wants to be here. And you got 60,000 people wondering, does he want to be there? And you've got millions of people around the world doing the same. And you can only judge it by his body language and how much effort he's putting into the game. And it didn't look like there was much there in body language terms, and he didn't put any effort into the game. So for me, I think it's a really difficult one. I think, he seemed to mess up so often. Certainly for the Martinez goal, but equally, was it Martinez actually his man at the time? I don't know. Gravenberch was right there as well. There was another Liverpool player right there as well.
He gives the ball away. That leads to the goal, so that's definitely his fault.
But what I'm saying is, I think it's sometimes it's a little bit more grey than black and white. So, and what I will say is, I also think it was the worst game he'd ever played. But in that one instance, I'm not 100% sure it was just Trent that he ran off.
It's not just him.
And to be fair, I'm pretty sure that's the one where he tries like a first time.
Into the centre. It's terrible.
It's
terrible.
But the play goes on for like 10-15 seconds before it gets to that situation. So it's not like he plays a ball. He does do one in the second half where he basically gives it away and they go on a counter.
It's from our throw-in.
The one from our throw-in, I was fuming
But the point
on
is, But the point I'm kind of making is that thing of it spoke to the Liverpool in general and how everyone in the game seemed to approach that. We're 2-1 up. Just dig in, lads. Just you don't need the game's won. If you're a brilliant football team, you're 2-1 up at home. I don't care who you play, and that game's won, provided everyone gets behind the ball when they're meant to. Dig in, do your solid duties first. And it didn't, and that was the problem with Trent, is that again, because this is what makes him the fantastic player that he is his mindset is, I'm a match winner and I've got the skill set. And it's not just him, he's not selfish. He's empowered. Arne Slot empowers him, and he empowers Virgil van Dijk, and he empowers Alisson to do things that most clubs don't allow their goalkeeper, centre-half and right back to do, because they're good enough to do them. And not many players in our team get that level of freedom to be that creative. So that is his job. But I did think there was something psychologically in him that he could have taken ownership and gone, because I think his defensive performance has been great this season. He just needed one of them. He just needed to put 20 minutes in of, I'm going to play as a right back here, and we're going to win this 2-1, and we're going to come off the pitch, we're going to be singing, you're going to win the league, all this kind of stuff. But instead, it was a very, well, I'm going to play my game instead of playing the game that I think the game needed from him. But Trent was not the only one.
Far from it. There's been a lot of micro-analysis of Trent because of what we're talking about in terms of the question marks over his future. And I've not really subscribed to it at all, because I think he's played largely pretty well. I think defensively he's been sound as well. But for the first time yesterday, I got it. I understood why people are thinking the way they're thinking. I've not ever questioned anybody's commitment to the cause. For the first time yesterday, I looked at Trent and went, I don't understand what this is. I don't understand what this performance is. And also, it was noticeable, you might not have seen it because you're obviously inside the ground, Virgil van Dijk was livid.
Mate, I was saying in the car on the way home, there was about 5 or 6 occasions where he was fuming at him. There was one point where Virgil was screaming at him so much, Alisson went over and tapped him on the Trent on the shoulder, like, it's all right, mate, carry on, because I think he was getting that much shit.
And this is the vice captain, by the way, and experience, been around for quite some time now, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like, he's not a kid. He should know. He should take responsibility of his own performance. And none of that happened. It was lacking. And we improved markedly when Conor Bradley's a very good up and down conventional right back who's got quality as well to go with it. But Trent, you just said it there, Trent could have done that. Trent can be that guy. Why does he not do it? Why does he not see the game state and go, I'm just going to do what you just said there?
I genuinely think he just lost his head in the game. I think he lost it in the first half.
Is that allowed?
You can have a bad game.
You can have a bad game.
Of course, anyone can have a bad game. I think it's his worst game of his career that I can remember, obviously.
There's been a few at Old Trafford over the years.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I think it was defensively. This was all over.
This was everything, wasn't it? So I think had the Real Madrid stuff not been going on, and he's a Liverpool player until the end of the season, all of us would be sat here, it's one bad game in 9.5 years.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you know what I mean? But it is going on, so you can't.
Yeah.
And it's going on big time as well. It's not like the other two. Even the other two, you could sort of park it and go, the futures are uncertain, but we're not sure. But this Trent one is heightened.
It's back page every single day. Yeah. Hours upon hours of people talking about it every single day.
And then he puts that performance
in.
Thoughts, people watching at home. Again, I can't be asked to get like super angry about stuff because if he just plays well in the next game and the game after that and the game after, it won't matter whether he, I'd like him to sign the contract.
It's fucking Manchester United. That's the one. If there was one game a year or two, that's one of them. Where you pick it up and you show the effort, and you show the fact that you give a shit. And it's Liverpool against Manchester United in the biggest rivalry, and you can go 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League, and it's a fucking Anfield. That's the game you put it in. You're just going to turn it on for one.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Steven Gerrard just used to get sent off in them games.
But at least he should care.
I'd rather you overcompensate than show absolutely not.
At least we knew we were fucking playing with 10 men when Gerrard did it.
You're right, in that was the platform to actually show your heart. No one needs showing what a fabulous technician he is. Well, that was the game to go, I'm here, regardless of what's happening, because he's done. I don't hate how he's approached the contract stuff. It's behind closed doors. I've never done this in public. I'm doing it. I'm keeping my counsel on it.
Apart from when he does this on the bench.
Yeah, but I don't mind. I don't mind that. Let him. Whatever. But that was the game. That was the game where you go and you cover every blade of grass, or you don't. You cover your little area and you cover it to the nth degree.
The problem was he did cover every blade of grass. We needed him to do that.
He covered the halfway line when they were in through an own goal so many times.
Do the hard yards, run that extra mile, get lit, fall off that pitch. Whereas as it was, he can't. You could see when the Bradley comes to the touchline, he's looking going. And it's because it's a couple of minutes before the ball goes out of play, so he knows it's coming and he has one little run into midfield and he's obviously thinking, this is my last chance to try and make something happen before it go off. And he gets fouled, doesn't he, around that. Yeah. And you go, and that's it. It was a bad game, and it's on him now, because the contract stuff I think will exist, but putting that to one side for a sec, he's a Liverpool player. Unless Real Madrid put an offer on that Liverpool can't refuse, he's going to play the rest of the season for Liverpool. What happens after that happens after that, but he can't put a performance like that in again because we won't have it. And ultimately Conor Bradley will be sat there licking his lips and going, if I can stay fit, mate, I'm going to be getting minutes here, because Conor Bradley will go and do that. Like, he is a heart on the sleeve, run all day, run through brick walls kind of footballer, and Trent's got to consider that, because every time Bradley's going to come on the pitch, he's going to run harder than he is as well.
The fundamentals.
I don't think Trent won a single duel, did he? In 86 minutes, Conor Bradley won his first with coming on inside.
I think we only won 2 tackles all game, so that says a lot about all 11 players.
I mean, Robbo also equally as bad in terms of winning duels, and actually he gets beat for their second goal with the run. I mean, once again, it comes from that right hand side of ours, but Curtis Jones had a really bad game as well. Like, there are many players who had a bad game, but the thing is there's nothing around you can in isolation go, he's been good though for the rest of the season, overplayed or whatever, or like maybe Don would have actually started this game but he's had to go again. With Trent, it's like 100 and other things before you get to that point, and that is the problem that he's got.
I say it again, sorry, like his head looked battered. We will never know, and I'm fully aware of that. I'm aware that I'm saying things that I'm not aware of the knowledge of, but he did when he came off that pitch. Whether it's just the performance and he was annoyed and frustrated by the fact that he hadn't been able to influence the game, or he knew he'd had a bad day, but he didn't look.
I think Slot agrees with you, because I think that's why Slot comes out and says what he says, because I think that's management, isn't it? Of
trying to get ahead of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just shutting it down from an internal point of view. Yeah. And I think that's good management from Slot, but I'm not sure he believes the words that he said. But I do think it's part and parcel because of the body language of Trent when he comes off.
And it comes down to it again, Slot we'll give the benefit of the doubt to the player because he's there and he can't comment. No one knows what was in Trent's head. We're speculating, and we all forget sometimes that none of us are elite sports people. And honestly, I wasn't elite.
Trust me. When I walk up the stairs, I know I'm not a fucking elite sports person.
I don't think any of us understand the difference in mentality that those guys have, the precision, like focus that they have for what they do. Dan's probably got it more than most of us. But to that thing of like Slot is not going to come out and speculate on that stuff. So I think it's fair to him to look at it and go, yeah, look, these guys play better. And we've said this for years. We critique our players more than we should do at times because nobody ever goes, when Mo Salah skins like 5 defenders and scores, we don't think about the defenders that have skinned them. We just think it was great play by Mo Salah.
I've seen 4 goals this weekend alone that have gone either in the build-up to or before it gets in the back of the net through somebody's legs. And not one person has mentioned how poor defending it is, but when it's Andrew Robertson, it's mentioned a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Because we do. We just love to critique our own and criticise our own players. And look, it's fun to have the conversation around it, but it does get taken too far sometimes. It's on Trent now anyway. Trent's got to start putting the performances in. They need to get that cleared up one way.
When does he play next?
Probably depends how fit Bradley is. Yeah. We'll talk about that in part 2. Look. Could have won it, could have lost it. Stats are with us, even if the eyeball test wasn't, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, if you just show me the stats, you win the possessions, you win the shots, you win the big chances, you miss more big chances than they do, you have more shots on target than they do. The
3-1-ish game in XG.
It felt like it, yeah. Obviously, even with the penalty XG, we still won the open play XG side of things. But, and it's a big but, they have the big chance to win the game that they really should have buried.
It was Harry Maguire.
Yeah. Even he should have buried that.
The centre-backs get the big chance towards the end.
There was people in the car trying to blame Joshua Zirkzee for the fact that Harry Maguire misses that chance.
Do you think he should have hit it, Zirkzee?
No. Do you think the ball should have been better? I'm sorry, but a footballer who's earning how much a week should be burying that, no matter if it's got a bobble in it or not.
The ball definitely bounced, and I've seen strikers miss them when they bounce like that, so I'm hardly surprised that Harry Maguire hasn't.
One thing before I want to talk about United.
You've never seen a striker miss a ball like that?
I have, and I'd call them out as well, and I'd be worse on them because they're a striker.
All can't. The biggest disappointment for me was that we were 2-1 up. We're singing "You're Going Down" with the Blue Shite.
That was great.
And that should have been the soundtrack of our week. Following up from that, because Man United in an absolute hole, Everton in a hole, and we're on top of the league. And again, that's the problem with Manchester United. And it's worth remembering that, we won the league. The last time we won the league, what did we win? Was it 26 or 27 we won?
Yeah, the draw was there, wasn't it?
The only game we didn't win was Old Trafford. And because that's what Manchester United are. It's not a derby in the truest of senses, but it is our biggest rivalry. It's one of those games that has a way of just throwing up roadblocks. You should never expect a win. As much as you can look at them on paper, those games are different. Manchester United will lose to teams that are, and have done, that are much, 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 much worse than us this season. And they'll lose convincingly to much worse teams than us. But that's the weird nature of football, is that the rules, a different set of rules apply to some fixtures, as annoying as that is. And again, people go, well, we beat them 7-0. Yeah, I know, we did. But that's still an outlier. It was 1-0 at half time
and quite a close game.
And there's a reason why we wear fucking t-shirts and fucking mugs about these things. We haven't done that for 30 years, apart from 5-0 at Old Trafford as well, of course. But,
there was a 3-0 in there as well.
So these are still outliers in the grand scheme of things. I just want to talk about United for a bit. There's been a total post-match United wankfest that I'm not 100% bought into, Chris.
Because of everything you've just said, because it does change, because it's a Liverpool game and stuff, and it's all very well and good saying that Amorim, yada yada yada. They look better. They looked more up for the game, certainly.
Tenacity was there.
They played 5 at the back at Anfield and tried to hit on the counter attack. They're not going to be able to do that every single week, are they? Now, what I will say is, I think Dalot had an absolutely outstanding game, and for what I thought was a 5 at the back, he did exceptionally well to play a wing-back role in that 5 at the back. On the other side, I wouldn't say Mazraoui did anything like what Dalot did, so I think there was a comfort blanket there of always fall back and Dalot just going for it, and I thought, unfortunately, he was probably the biggest difference maker on the day.
That's the thing for me, which is sort of weirdly encouraging. I said to you after match, I think is Dalot their best player, like, because he certainly played like it, and I know Diallo's the one they're all in on, but and Maino as well. Maino had a decent game, but also a lot of the things I knew about these footballers were backed up. Like, Maino is a fantastically good, gifted footballer in small spaces, but he's dead slow. Diallo's dead fast and is a bit of a threat, but he's nowhere near good enough yet to be their best attacking outlet. And again, this all sounds bitter in the aftermath, and maybe it is a little bit. I can't detach that. They've got too many young players are their best players, and their senior players are still mad. Like De Ligt, we've been joking about how slow he is. Fuck me, he's slow.
I know.
He is.
I've been saying it for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Their team, someone in their team played a pass to him, and I had barely kept it in from a throw-in or whatever, but it went that far away from him, and
was
he
it
went,
Trent? Because that's what he was doing all day. Fucking hell.
Any chance it was Virgil as well?
Yeah. I think that it's interesting, isn't it, Dan? Because Chris touched upon that there. Amarim's come in 3 at the back, and I think I might have said in those early weeks, it'll be interesting to see whether that is wing backs or it just becomes fullbacks, and it's become fullbacks. He's playing fullbacks at wing back now, so that is 5 at the back, no matter which way you slice it. That's a lot of that's a very, very defensive formation for a team that wants to be more now. Is it slightly more pragmatic to try and get himself a few more points? I've said he should be doing that, so credit to him in that regard. But I don't know. I don't think this tells me that Manchester United are back or on the right track or anything particularly.
No, I agree. And I think what comes after, yes, they will probably tell us that even more, because I would bet a lot of money on them just going to sort of revert into type and losing more mad games of football against teams they probably shouldn't be when it comes to man for man on paper. But what I will say is just that you got to tune out of them yesterday, most definitely, because they were up for it and they were seemingly sort of sticking to the game plan, if you like, and it worked. It was effective, and the coaching time that Chloe referenced earlier on looked like it sort of paid dividends for them, and they were actually more adventurous than I thought they would be, because I think it very much was a 5 at the back, but Dalot in particular, thought Mazraoui had moments, but I thought the wing backs would be defenders more or less by trade, but Dalot was very, very up and at Trent in particular.
He's a proper tank as well.
He had a good game. I tell you what, and I hate saying this because I can't stand the fella. I thought Bruno Fernandes was brilliant.
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant.
And I don't say that easily at all. Like, I'm going to wash my mouth out after this show, but he was brilliant. He was, annoyingly so.
It was the fact that when he had the ball, about 4 of us decided to go and chase after him, and he just put it between us and get off.
It's mad how we let him into that game, because there's a moment early doors where McAllister's being covered by 2 men right on the touchline, and he looks over his shoulder, realises it's Bruno Fernandes, and just spins him and comes away with it, and you go, right, cool, this should be that game. And it was like McAllister understood the brief, and very few other players in that team got to that kind of level.
Did it feel to anyone else like every ball bounced for them?
Yeah.
We weren't winning second balls at all. I know you mean a bit of luck involved in that as well, but I just think, again, we just weren't at it to a man. I thought Gravenberch had moments in the games, one in particular, lovely turn, but the only one, really, I know you referenced it earlier on, Chris, was that McAllister from start to finish was on it. Outside of that, very few.
Chloe, I want to pick up on something you said to me after the game. I thought there were really weird vibes around the ground and around the game in general. It's obviously the Manx, so there's an added pressure to all that. I think, as discussed, there's that added pressure of expecting a win as well. The weather definitely played a part in it. It was grim yesterday. The front 5 rows of every single stand got absolutely, maybe more than 5, got absolutely drenched yesterday as well. There's more than one leaky roof in Anfield, so maybe we need to just calm that down instead of just getting other people's grounds until they resolve that.
We wait until the fucking press conference room does it. Until that press conference room does it, I'm taking the piss out of United and ignoring the fact that all of the stadiums were leaking.
But you said it to me, Chloe. It didn't feel like we were in a title race.
It hasn't felt like we've been in a title race. I've been coming away from away grounds and saying, what's going on? Like, Spurs away, 6-3, one of the best we've played so far this season. And look, yeah, they got 3 goals, but Liverpool could have scored 10, 11, 12 in that game. And I'm walking out the ground, and it doesn't feel like anyone thinks we're in a title race. It's just like it's another game. And a lot of people were saying, and I think you mentioned it, it's the style of play, maybe. It's not as, you know, end-to-end, which is good.
Yeah,
but, you know, maybe it's that. But the away, even West Ham 5-0 up, feels like you should be bouncing, and we're not bouncing.
I don't feel like people trust that we're in a title race.
Maybe that's it.
I
don't want to say it.
I think it's the Klopp thing. Like, I'm just a little bit dead inside from him leaving. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think everyone's still a little bit sad that we're not doing this with Klopp.
Yeah,
and that's no disrespect to Slot. I think he's been exceptional, and I think we are banging a title race. And whenever I've been in the ground, I've been singing my heart out like I am. But it just doesn't seem like where I was yesterday, the Upper Annie. It was a bit shit, to be honest with you. Like, you know what I mean? I've bounced around the stands this season. It was one of, apart from that segment where we got to get it back to 1-1, it just didn't feel right.
It was a weird game in that for the atmosphere because of the way they play, in that they don't want the football. So I enjoyed the first, when we were on top in the first 15, 20, 25 minutes or whatever. So there's loads of booing and hissing and jeering whenever they get on the ball, which is exactly what you want for that big game. It never quite got bigger than that until that moment, you say, when we get the equaliser in the second, then you're like, okay, this is fine. But I do think that style of play thing's a little is that I've been conditioned to, again, it's the swashbuckling thing, is to be on the edge of your seat. Like, everything's got to be done at 1,000 miles an hour. So this doesn't feel like a title challenge to me, because I've had 9 years of Klopp football where, I mean, not like we've challenged every one of those 9 years, but more, you know, we've had more good seasons than bad in that. And yeah, it feels different. I don't think anyone's acclimatised to how we deal with this, because we could legitimately win the title on like 86-ish sort of points this season, and we could comfortably win it. You know, we could quite comfortably win it at 86 if it just goes like this, and we'll have won a league title. And I don't know, it's yeah, I don't. Maybe it'll get bigger or more as the season progresses, when there'll be a bit more buy-in. Maybe it's this time of year, it is a bit early to be getting totally lost in it. We certainly didn't get lost in it in 1920.
But the atmosphere, it told you.
Yeah,
that was January. But it told you.
No, Villa wasn't January.
No, sorry, I'm talking about Man United when we played them, and then we were comfortable enough to sing.
Yeah,
I mean, we were miles ahead of that.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah. What I will say, I think there's two things. I think the fact that at the end of a game you've got no outlet, like Jürgen when Jürgen would do his fist bumps, you knew that it was building there. Yeah. Like it meant something, and you had the release, and players would buy into that. Where now it's just you clap and you get off. Boss, well done, lads. You don't get to give it everything.
It does feel like a season where we'll celebrate it at the end.
Yeah.
Very business-like, isn't it? I guess.
Also, the other thing is, I do think we are in a title race and things like that, but I think maybe even when the years when, you know, we've lost it, or everything's just, it felt like it's mattered more in a sense, where I feel like a lot of people might be calm with the way Liverpool play right now. I'm not sure what it is. It just, I have at no point this stage has it felt like we've been in a title race. Like even games against like Leicester, where it's not as simple as you think it maybe could be. Like, there's moments in a game where you go to yourself, oh my God, we are 6 points clear with a game in hand. You're like, geez, like, there's not been
maybe just to feel like we've earned it, which is stupid, because, you know, this team have, you know, they've put in the yards over the years. Some of these lads have been there and they've won stuff with us already, and we've had a fresh batch. But that's the thing of, like, maybe it just comes so surprisingly soon. And it doesn't feel like we've had to work really hard for it either. So again, it doesn't. I don't know. Like, my brain can't compute how we are. How are we 6 points clear at the top of with a game in hand? You know, legitimately, there was a point prior to that game. If we'd won that, and then 1 or 2 games down, we'd have been 11. Could have been 11 points clear. And look, bear in mind, that's February by the time that gets done. It could legitimately have been even more by that point as well. This is just, because it's not like 1920, because you're right, we had Villa moments. We had Villa, we had Sheffield United, we had like fucking Adrian in goal for 11 games or something mad, like in the midst of it.
Is it not because we haven't needed them though?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Serene and comfortable.
If Virgil heads that in at the end of the game against Manchester United,
there's your moment.
Oh my days.
Yeah, exactly. And because we said this last week, and we conceded the first goal too many times this season, but it's not like last season because we're not then needing 97 minutes to claw it back. We're turning it round in like 60 or 70 and then going on normally and going on and win the games. There hasn't been the drama that we associate with it. Now, what am I doing? I don't want the drama, or maybe I do. Maybe this is fucking stupid. Maybe this is our problem. Maybe we want life to be more difficult. Maybe this is what it's meant to be like. Maybe this is what it was like for our dads when Liverpool just used to fucking win more games than the other teams and win leagues because you're meant to, because you're dead good. But I'm really, it doesn't stack up. It's weird for me.
I think we'll learn to love it, is what I'd say. I think we will sort of.
Oh, I'm loving it.
Train our
top
brains.
Of the table.
No, but in terms of
by any means.
in terms of the way we celebrate it and the way we go through the motions, in terms of being there at the ground, because you say it hasn't been, and we spoke about this last week, and I put it immediately down to the style of play, and you can't quite get the same raw emotion, the buy-in. Jurgen Klopp, one of the great things about Jurgen Klopp was we were great underdogs. Jurgen Klopp, we're good favourites. It feels like now under Arne. It's a slightly different way of playing a little bit, so that sort of lends itself to what we're talking about here.
We're good favourites, but we can't trust that yet.
No,
because we haven't done it before.
Yeah, and I also think your point about it wasn't supposed to be this way a little bit, because it was supposed to be difficult going from Klopp to Slot, and it's just been again seamless. We're in pinch yourself territory in terms of what the league looks like right now.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's what's made it so comfortable and easy today. When we've got looked back at what was a disappointing and frustrating result yesterday, we've gone, actually things aren't so bad, so we can reset our brains immediately. But yeah, in terms of what it's like in the crowd and what it's like in maybe it's just the drama, maybe it's just the moments that we need along the way, and they may well come, but they might just not. We might just have to learn.
It's felt like at times that they've not needed us like a Klopp team.
Exactly, exactly.
So is that disconnect?
But fucking hell, mate, yesterday there was 4 or 5 players at a time going like that to us.
Robbo being one of them.
But it's difficult to snap into that then, because we were great underdogs as fans as well, not just as a team. So we were all in on that, but we've been so conditioned already not to be.
The problem is, Dan, is all that fucking lift the crowd up. I have to admit, it kind of fucking does my head in at times. I think there's moments for it, like, and I don't get me wrong, with Canate's doing, I'm fucking bang up for it, great. But it's a picky moments kind of thing, and then I don't know, the team then didn't
respond to it either.
Exactly.
I get it.
Do that to the players. Come on, lads. Let's all fucking get together and not concede the fucking second goal to Man United, and then we'll have it. Yeah, it's just been too serene, and I don't recognise that as what it takes. So, I mean, look, if this is it, we've said this at the start, if there's an easier way to win a league title, then it'd be nice if we were the ones who figured it out. I think we've earned it if it is the case. But yeah, maybe it's that thing of we needed one of them last gasp goals. But what am I saying? Isn't it better that we just win it in 70 minutes instead? Yeah, probably. Top of the league. 46 points after 19 games, 6 points ahead of Arsenal in second place, 9 points ahead of Nottingham Forest, who've played the same amount of games as us. Man City, wow, Christ, Man City are 12 points behind us, and we have a game in hand on them as well. We've scored more goals than anyone. Yeah, that's true. 47 goals. But you said the second best defence, but Arsenal and fucking Arteta's been going on about this, like they've got this like super. They've conceded one less goal than us, and we're talking about how our defence has been a bit leaky for the last month. Yeah, we've conceded 19 goals to their 18. I mean, we've got a plus 28 goal difference. This is great, right?
Yeah. Well, the mad thing, like, is it me or like? The defence is just not as good as they used to be, just generally speaking, because was our record 18 and then Chelsea broke it with like 16 or something?
16 or 15 in my head, yeah.
Over the course of 38 games. We're halfway through and the 2 best defences in the league have already done that. Yeah. And like, we probably are scoring more goals just across the board as well, by the way.
Yeah.
But it does feel like the defending side of things has been a bit of a struggle. Because I remember thinking, fucking hell, man, if we can just stop conceding 50 goals a season, we'll break into the top 4.
Yeah.
We might win the league and concede not far off 50.
Yeah.
I also think it's it's different the way the game's played.
Yeah,
Everything's passing out from the back now. You take more risks further down the pitch.
And you want to see goals.
That's
as well,
the
so,
thing, because I've been involved with too many pieces of content with Rory Jennings over the years, and honestly, creams his pants over that fucking Mourinho defensive record. And he goes on about John Terry, and John Terry was very, very good. But honestly, John Terry and that defence were not asked to do anything remotely progressive with the football.
Mate, they had Makaleli.
I'm going to say we did Makaleli.
They were not asked to play on the halfway line. You know, they were told to defend everything. You know, I mean, again, what I don't think it's that team is the second iteration, maybe a bit later on when
Carvalho, Terry, I think.
But exactly. But like Ivanovic ends up at right back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Half at right back.
Exactly. You know what I mean? They play a team of centre halves, you know, across the back four and defend deep and do the business. Yeah, and again, it was like more agricultural. Your role was emptier. Not drop the shoulder, beat someone with 3 men around you and slot a perfect ball 50 yards through the eye of a needle up to the attacking players. Anyway, right, we're going to take a short break. In part 2, we're going to look ahead to this week's Cup game action. We'll see you in a sec.
Hello over there, just wanted to tell you what you could win if you were in our Club Legend prize draw for January. This is a biggie. We're starting the new year off with a bang. It's this, a signed Liverpool shirt signed by Ian Callaghan, proper Liverpool royalty, the record appearance maker for the Reds. 857 appearances he made. Not all in this shirt, you'll be glad to know, but if you want to get yourself a chance of winning this, head to redmenplus.com, sign up as a Club Legend or upgrade your existing subscription and you might just be the lucky winner.
Yeah, don't forget, if you join up as a Legend tier subscriber on redmenplus.com, not only do you get all the excellent extra content in podcast and video form, but you're entered into a monthly prize draw automatically to win signed Liverpool gear. And this month, Ian Callaghan, wonderful signed shirt. We had a couple of, we had one super chat, which I'll come to now, but Jay also upgraded membership to Wonderkid. Good on you, thanks so much, mate. Regan just said, can we talk about Alisson? And I didn't want to be as dismissive as to say no, but I'm not really sure.
Well, someone in the ground said to me they didn't think he'd been very good since he came back.
It's funny,
and I'd not really thought about it at all.
I tend to slightly agree.
I made the point pre-game yesterday, and it's not really in terms of how he's played necessarily, but our leaky defence and concession of goals has coincided with him returning to being in goal for us. And I don't put him down for errors necessarily in that time or mistakes leading to goal or whatever, but it's definitely the security or how watertight we've been at the back generally has started to become apparent since he returned. When
did he come back into the team?
After Newcastle, what was the game after Newcastle?
It was pre-Canate injury, wasn't it? So we had a little bit of a time.
Was the Callaghan mistake against Newcastle?
Yeah. So Newcastle,
Fulham
2-2 Fulham. Yeah. Okay.
I'd not considered it until someone said to me yesterday.
Good for that game either, really.
I don't think there's anything you can. We've just said there, Callaghan was at fault for a goal.
You just feel like he could do better.
Yes, I think there's an element of even the second one. I mean,
mate, he puts a great save in against Hoyland yesterday, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I thought
it was decent yesterday.
But I don't understand how that second one goes past him. Like I was convinced he must have slipped because I've seen my ma play lawn bowls and hit it harder. Do you know what I mean?
She is good at lawn bowls.
She's fucking exceptional, you know. She actually fucking is. Honestly,
the placements.
She's just terrible at all sports apart from lawn bowls.
Is that a sport? Yeah.
I mean,
fully.
If darts is,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I love darts, but yeah.
Thanks. Cool, good talk. There's a general level of assurance I feel greatly more when Alisson's in goal for Liverpool, but that's an interesting discussion. Please feel free to discuss in the comments underneath. Okay, interesting decisions to be made in terms of selections this week. I want us to list all the players who need minutes, and then we'll go from there. I guess by contractual obligation, the goalie Kelleher.
Ironically, probably comes in.
Connor Bradley,
Quansah,
Jarell Quansah,
Kostas
Tsimikas. That's anyone else defensively?
Harvey.
No.
Okay, no,
I don't know what else. What to do with Urge, I guess.
We'll go back to front. Well, this is who definitely needs minutes.
Okay, they're the ones that need minutes.
So we've got 5. We're up to 4 so far.
Endo, Harvey.
Endo,
Chiesa.
Harvey. Wait there.
I thought Tyler
Anyone else in
Morton.
midfield? Tyler Morton.
Dom Sobosai, please. Not
If
played
he's-
in
if
2
he's
weeks.
well, yeah, that's a good point.
Bosley, that's 8. Okay, is anyone else in midfield? I think that's about
Probably
right.
it, I think.
And then into the attack. So, fucking, I've lost count. People shouting names at me.
You've got
think we're on eight.
you got 8 fingers up.
8 is right, I think.
No, I mean, I don't know whether I've had the key. I don't know whether I counted Chiesa
Oh,
because
right,
you
okay.
Chiesa when I was going
Okay.
through the midfield. I don't know whether I've automatically gone and I can't be
don't
asked to
think you did.
backtrack. So yeah, Chiesa,
Jota, Darwin.
Jota, Darwin. Well, I think that's 11 or 12 or 9.
There's a lot of players.
Yeah,
It's 11.
that's a lot of footballers. Now the question is,
Who did we recall from loan?
Ramsey.
Calvin Ramsey and probably going to be Kay Gordon as well.
Castle, Kate Gunn, did he play at the weekend?
He came on the weekend, late on, yeah.
I saw a celebratory post from him, but I had no idea how much of a role he played.
Literally
in
the last
Norwich's
5 minutes. And he got credited for the assist on Sky Sports, but it wasn't him.
Oh.
So yeah, I think he's going to get recalled. He's barely played, like
Yeah.
40
We
minutes.
thought he'd actually have some sort of
Hasn't
game
happened.
time there.
Well, it looks like Bucetic is going to Betis as well.
yeah. Which I'm not hugely. I'm slightly surprised the fact he's going to Betis, but I'm not surprised that Liverpool have done something with the Salzburg loan, given
Yeah.
Pepland.
Good luck getting him back from Spain.
And that's I mean, again, that's transfer talk on the transfer podcast a bit later this week if people want to go into more depth on that one. But anyway, that's a lot of players, Chris. We do this every single fucking time, particularly with the League Cup, because you never know. You never really know what the manager's going to, how it's that thing of we are 2 games away from a cup final.
Yeah.
This is where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. Let's roll out League Cup bingo.
It's in March, is it, this year?
Yes, March, yeah, mid-March. I think the second leg's in early
February, yeah. I mean, it's a month between, isn't it? Which
Yeah.
is a little bit mental and stuff.
So, to the question, we've named all of those players. Is this going to be one where Slot surprised us and goes surprisingly strong?
I'm sorry, I want us to go strong.
I guess so, mainly due to the fact that it's Accrington Stanley after
Exactly.
the game against Tottenham. But here's the side that he played against Southampton in the quarters. Kelleher, Trent, Kwanzaa, Endo, Gomez at left back, Trainiani, Morton, Elliott, McAllister, Gakpo, Nunes. So if he's following the same thing, it's going to be a heavily rotated side. But at what point do you go, oh, we're only dead close to a final? I honestly think the Accrington Stanley game being straight after it means that he'll probably push a few players for an extra game because you don't want a week and a half off for them. After basically having a week off, actually between the Man United game and the game before.
He doesn't need to level up the strength of selection on that to this to go more or less full strength. That's quite a strong side. That's the match day squad used at least.
Can I propose we'll go through the other ones because Brighton away is the other. That's the League Cup, right?
Yeah.
Jaros in goal.
Played well.
Robertson, Gomez, Kwanzaa, Bradley, Gakpo, Endo, Morton, Diaz, Curtis Jones, Szoboszlai. It was that weird, didn't play a centre forward
2-10
formation for that one. But that's another similar sort of thing. And then obviously it was Chiesa, Jota, Diaz in the West Ham game amongst the attacking lineup. Yeah. It was quite a strong team again, wasn't it?
Assist, wasn't it? The mad.
I think my logic follows. I think Spurs are a better team than what we've played in the competition so far. So I think he will go strong. It's the away leg of this. You've got an opportunity to actually almost have this game done if they play how they play. I just wonder whether he'll.
They will go strong.
I think Van Dijk starts because I think
agree.
he takes Accrington Stanley off for Van Dijk.
Yeah.
I think it will be Kwanzaa. I think it will be Trent. Not Trent. No. Sorry, I think Timikas. And then the question mark over Trent and Bradley is, can Bradley go 90?
Yeah.
So if he can, it's Bradley. If he
And
can't,
he doesn't have to.
It's Trent. Yeah, and I don't know where Gomez is up to.
No.
How far away are we there?
A
Like,
few weeks, yeah.
in terms of the midfield, I think the back five is probably the easiest to do. I think you've only really got a question mark over Trent.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't have to be 90 for Bradley. It could be 60 for Bradley and 30 for Trent. Or it's definitely not going to be Ramsey.
He's fit. He's not fit.
Played football for 2 years.
No, he's played some games at Wigan. The reason he recalled him is because he hasn't been able to get in the squad.
Yeah, cool. So he's not coming back
No,
in and
I'm with you.
starting at the fucking
No, we'll be
semi-final.
starting.
Semi-final.
I never suggested him.
No, I know.
I'm just telling you he's fit.
Yeah. You jumped to Calvin Ramsey's defence a little too quickly as that point.
Yeah, Dan.
No, because he was kind of dismissed out.
His idea was stupid.
No, he was
seemed to be
You
jumping
backed
in
him.
No, he was
front of
dismissed out of hand, almost suggested he wasn't fit and available. He is fit and available.
No, he's dismissed
No.
out of hand because
he's-
we've got Trent and Conor Bradley who played.
Yeah, I was only talking like 15 minutes at the end of the game
Okay,
for him,
sad,
you know what I mean? I wasn't suggesting he starts.
I mean, like, yeah, and if you'd said Accrington for that one, I wouldn't have scoffed quite so loudly.
£10 million he got.
Yeah, I know. And he looked in the very, I think
That one
I think he
Cruyff
looked
turn and that
okay.
one pre-season game.
He should be what Bradley is now.
He was supposed to be ahead of him in the pecking order.
Yeah, he was,
That was the idea.
Yeah, interesting how that goes. I agree. I think the back four picks itself with the question of, is it 60-30 for the right backs and which order in which that goes in? Mm-hmm. I don't think this is a Morton game.
Done it before. Spurs away.
It has.
Literally in the Premier League.
Yeah.
No, it could be. I think he could be.
It could
I
be.
think he could play this game.
A lot depends on whether Szoboszlai's fit
Yeah.
and is able to play, because I think,
Gravenberch can't play this game.
For
For me.
me. So Endo's a definite.
Endo's a definite.
yeah.
Can Jones go again?
No.
Probably not.
No,
Therefore you
He's
are.
played 2 more games than he should
Well,
have.
therefore you're in Morton and McAllister territory, no? With an Elliott.
McAllister's not.
Elliott's
Played loads.
definite. Endo's
Elliott, Dom,
90% for
and
me.
Dom.
For Dom then.
And Dom's
because he
probably
needs
the
the
other.
minutes maybe. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm all right with that, yeah. And then maybe Morton the weekend instead.
Yeah, exactly. And
At
that's
the weekend, I don't care who the hell you put out. Name half of the fans from outside Anfield. I do not care.
Do you want me to name them now? Or?
Yeah, come on. Do you want to start?
Calvin
Where
Chris
are you
Page,
starting?
Paul Machin, Chloe Bloxham.
Number
I don't have 90 in me. It's 90 minutes.
You
for the
over
London
there in that stance. Is that a shirt you've got underneath your coat? You're in. Front line then, Jota has to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who has to be rested? Salah?
Salah.
Won't like that.
But Salah's not going to want to be
He
rested
won't
for
like
this.
that.
No, you won't like that.
Listen, he's got to be, surely.
But he's definitely getting rested at the weekend. You give Salah a week off.
Salah, in fact, you know what? I've changed my mind. Salah plays this.
Yeah.
Changed my mind really quickly. Yeah, he plays.
Okay.
He does.
That's what I mean.
You're right, he plays.
You've just got to... This is midweek. We play midweek games all the time.
Yeah.
It's Tottenham. You could get beaten by Tottenham. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. You could get really badly beaten by Tottenham. If they go full strength and just blitz you away from home, that could
What
be
is
game
their
over.
full strength out? How many injuries do they have? Can
And you know
someone
what I
let me
mean.
know?
Yeah.
No, but they're available full strength. They've got about 10 injuries, like, I think, including
Yeah, but,
both
like,
keepers, I
who
think.
are
now.
they missing?
All the defence.
You've signed a
Ben
new
Davis, Mickey van der Ven, Christian Romero.
If we're talking Salah in, why are we not talking Gravenberch and McAllister in?
With
I think it's
Gravenberch,
one or the other. I don't think it's both.
I'm
But we never
worried.
said either of those names.
Yeah, I know,
McAllister
because I was just-
or
I'm okay with
Gravenberch, both
McAllister.
out.
I'm okay with McAllister, by the way. 'Cause I
Yeah.
think he's missed a week recently, didn't he? Gravenberch hasn't had that
he went
luxury.
the out.
But then he's got Accrington.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned.
It's the same logic applied.
Endo McAllister, Szoboszlai. If Szoboszlai's not fit, Elliott in there for Szoboszlai. Salah on the right, Jota through the middle, and then take your pick on the left hand side. It'll be one of Gakpo or Diaz, I'd guess. And then this is the game where Chiesa gets half an hour for Salah, and you finally get to do that.
He gets 30 minutes midweek and he gets
90 at the weekend.
If he's fit.
Yes, of course. The big caveat is that he wants him not even be on the bench for this one now. Fucking hilarious.
You want him to play 90 minutes against Accrington Stanley, Chiesa? You think that's... Yeah.
I don't know whether he can. But
He
I'd
should
like
be
to
doing.
see him.
Yeah, I did this morning on one of our shows. Like, he is living in a world now whereby some minutes against Spurs in the Carabao Cup and 90 minutes at Accrington Stanley is exactly what he needs.
Yeah.
That is not how
It
he would
also
have
feels a
envisaged.
stretch
It does.
Point, doesn't
Until
it?
we see it, guilty until proven.
Yeah, when he
otherwise.
made the move to Liverpool, I can't imagine he envisaged 90 minutes against Accrington Stanley being an absolute necessity for his career, but here we are.
Here we are, yeah.
That's got one of them games on it, where we win 1-0 and it's someone has to dive to win a penalty. It just absolutely dog it over the line because we've put like a team of kids and then like two of our senior players.
Oh yeah, I mean
in
it's
that team.
Jaden Dan's up front with the Chiesa on the right hand side.
Go on, let's.
So
Okay,
up for
so
that, so up
does
for that.
Kelleher keep his place for both of
Yes.
those games?
Fucking hell, throw Janos in.
Yeah, I'd go Keller for both. I think,
Kostas again?
Yep.
Or Robbo?
No,
Costas
I
again.
actually don't know. If I saw Costas starting ahead of Robbo, I'd be sound with that in terms of a big game. So
Virgil cannot.
Quanta again. Quanta
Yeah.
again. Nallo?
I'd go Marvinello, yeah. I'd be wrapping up Canate and Cotton Wool for the weekend, personally. Bradley might need the minutes, depending on what happens in midweek. Alternative-wise, Isaac Mabaya, anybody remember him from
Yeah.
a couple
I
of
do,
pre-seasons
yeah.
ago? He's back fit, playing well for 21, so he's a possibility.
or you've obviously got Calvin Ramsey over here.
Yeah, maybe 20 minutes at the end.
And yeah, again, so much of this is led by what happens in midweek. But
Endo
yeah,
again. Captain Endo.
Captain Endo, yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah, Trey, I think Trey comes in
Yeah.
Morton.
to this game. Tyler
Actually, we've
Morton.
not even said trade for midweek
Love
bench.
Trey, really.
I think he'd be in the squad.
Yeah.
I think he'll travel. And as mentioned there, I think Chiesa, all being well in midweek, plays in the weekend. Jaden Dan's, love that. Absolutely love that for him.
That, just from going back to the
Liverpool.
United game, we could really do with Chiesa being something. And I know we speculated on the show a couple of weeks ago about the rumours around Chiesa, like Liverpool surely not going to get shut. But we need someone with his skill set who's pacey, dribbly and direct, who can play across the front three, because we own too many centre forwards at this point, and we seem to be determined to make more of them into centre forwards.
It's mad because at one point we had too many left wingers.
Yeah,
Don't worry, that's coming again.
yeah, definitely. But yeah,
When he starts Darwin on the left against Spurs and buys another one in the summer.
Good well done.
I know there's you've got a long career. Liverpool haven't signed Chiesa technically for just one season or for half a season or whatever, but
We need him.
yeah. Honestly, I'm convinced you
But it's
need.
part and parcel, isn't it? It goes in with what's going on in the games because, you've got to at some point start taking Salah off.
Yeah.
And even if we'd had Chiesa, and we've had backups for Salah over the years, it's few and far between when we get the option to take Salah off.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen very often. So the manager's got to trust that not only is Chiesa up to fitness, but that he can take Salah off.
I've just got this. I know it's a bit of a sidestep into transfers, but I'm not normally one who buys into the you've definitely got to buy from a position of strength thing. I think it's a great thing to say and I love the sentiment, but I don't think it always necessarily works like that. But I do have that right now of if you could go and add an exciting player to the squad, and I'm not even that arse what position it is. Go and buy a boss centre half, or go and buy someone else who's got loads of pace to play on the wings, like Diaz was, and Gakpo less so because obviously played him through the middle. But yeah, if we did another Diaz type signing in this January, and all of a sudden there's someone who's coming in fresh and invigorating and is really, really bang up for it, and Chiesa could be that guy just by the proxy of being fit. But I need to know, it matters that I know. I need to know whether Chiesa can do that, and I imagine the manager needs to know that too.
Absolutely.
So really interesting week for him, because he's the one who could be a real game changer for us, because we're all falling out of love with Darwin Núñez by the week. More and more people, I think we're starting to see that it's... I have a feeling, this might sound stupid, but if he just played for Man City, he'd probably score fucking loads of goals, because their centre forward just gets to kick the ball. If we asked Erling Haaland to do all the bits and pieces that Darwin does for us, he'd look fucking shit too, because he's a really awkward footballer as well. But, and maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but you know what I mean.
It is.
But have you seen Erling Haaland actually play football? He's
not great to do all that stuff.
It's
Yeah,
like he uses different legs to pass the sheet.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that's the case, then and if Diaz is going to play more games centre forward, then we desperately need someone else. with that skill
And
set.
again, that is Chiesa.
I would move heaven and earth for Bastoni. And the other thing,
Caught me off guard.
the other thing is right now, and I'm not one of Robertson's biggest detractors at all. I think it's form more than anything else. I think a starting left back should be one of our priorities.
Really? Yeah, you think we're there?
Yeah.
To address that?
I think that's top of my list for the summer, but it'd be interesting if you could do that still owning both of them in January would be the...
I think it's more people yesterday post-match in terms of what I was doing content-wise was coming out and saying exactly that. A lot of it was Trent related.
How many times has he been beat in the
people
box?
saying we just need a bona fide first choice left back, go and do it now. Yeah, and a lot of people mentioned Robertson at Fulham, obviously, and
a lot of people looking going, about Kirkes has been the one that's sort of top of the list. Andy Robertson's well too old for us.
He's far too old. I remember. Yeah.
He's like 27, isn't he?
In terms of plug and play, yes, but then you've got 3 27, 28, 30-year-old left backs at some point. Yeah, that doesn't work at all.
Yeah, I'm up for Kirkes. Let's do that. But yeah, I mean, look. Again, it's funny because we're into that period now where inevitably FSG's name appear more frequently on social media in comment sections or whatever, and this whole they won't pull a finger out. They've got a pretty stellar track record of buying in January. You know, we are active more often than not in Januaries. Slot's been very calm about it all, and when you see our bench. In theory, we are pretty well stocked in most areas, but yeah, I've just got this little inkling sense of just someone to just a really fresh that just invigorates everyone. You know what I mean? Like gets that,
and also does
down.
Everyone else's head in. You know, Arsenal crying about all of like their summer transfer window.
Yeah.
You then go and buy a superstar, and they're like, okay, well, we thought we had a chance, and
now you've done that.
Now they've done that. Like, there's another obstacle for us to try and overcome if we want to win the league.
Just really quickly, the Chiesa point that you made there, Paul, is really interesting because clearly he was, opportunistic, yes, but identified as somebody who could add something to the squad. As we sit here right now, he hasn't been able to do that. No. So if Arne Slot still desperately wants that and it's not viewed that Chiesa can, then yeah, you go and do something in this market, don't you?
That's my exact point of we don't know exactly what they're going to do. He was such a low fee that you might be able to just swallow that in terms of for where we're at. I wouldn't be against if he's not the one, then is he going to be the one in the summer? Well, yeah, stick him out on loan for the rest of the season, fine, and have another look in the summer, fine, and then see if he can move it on.
Silly.
But you can go and get a short an answer.
No. I'm all about adding players. What I'm saying is don't get rid of anyone because at this point in time.
No, but the thing is, Chloe, Liverpool medical department have had him for half a season.
But if I win a league title at the end and he's played 20 minutes in a game where I needed him to play, am I asked?
I'm not saying get rid of him and not replace him.
Absolutely add players.
I don't think you can.
Don't get rid of anyone right now.
I don't know where we're at in terms of the squad and who you can and can't register and all that kind of shit as well. It's not something I've had eyes on this year, but it feels to me like we are, body for body, we've got enough footballers. So if you want to buy a midfielder, Morton or Endo are going to have to get fucked off, which more people would be comfortable with, I'd guess. And it would be Morton at this point because he's below Endo in the pecking order. And it's again, in terms of the attacking players, we own 6 attackers. It's 7 if you count Elliott, whether you want to or not, it's a thing.
If I ask you this question, then maybe frame it slightly differently. If you look at the attack, the midfield and the defence as 3 separate things, where are you bolstering in what order?
Defence and attack.
See, I would actually bolster midfield before attack. Because I think Gravenberch and McAllister and Szoboszlai and Jones, they played a lot too much.
I'll be honest, I honestly don't really have a pecking order. I think we need a left back, a centre back, a centre mid, and a winger, or a centre forward.
Well, I suppose by the fact that you've chosen 2 defenders, you'd probably preference defence.
Yeah. But what I mean is sign one of any of them, and I think that would add to our chances of winning the league this season. I think the way we've gone. I honestly think we're 6 points ahead.
We could do it.
6 points clear the top of the league, not by accident.
No.
Because we've been good and we've managed the squad really, really well. And there's more to come because I think we've been unlucky with. I mean, Jota's Jota, so you never know. But that wasn't a muscular injury. That was an impact injury. You got a little bit unlucky in the same way with Konate. Elliott's another one. That was like a broken bone. That shit happens. There's more to come from Elliott, and theoretically, there's more to come from Chiesa that should actually improve us in this second half. I wonder whether we'll double down on what we're good at. We clearly want 6 attackers.
Yes, exactly.
And if Chiesa's not the one, then just fuck him off because there's no sentiment there. We've not paid a lot of money for him. There'll be 5 clubs in Italy who'll have him on loan immediately, and then you just go in the market and buy someone to do that job who's 22, 23, and is physically prepared for the league instead.
I agree. excuse me, I think if you're buying an attacker, you've kind of got to wait on Salah and see what's going on there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's an easy thing. If Salah hasn't signed by the end of January, if I was just Jesus, I wouldn't know what the fuck I was supposed to be doing. Am I buying someone? You've got to buy next season's right winger.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like a little backup guy anymore, is it? It's a, you know. So then do you wait till the summer because they're not available in January? I think it's a really hard thing to do. I think that's why Chiesa, I think, is a bit of a safer option for us in that, like, it's fine. We know we can sell him back to Italy in the summer if we need to raise some funds and free up some space.
We can put him on a load to buy in Italy at any point. Yeah. No,
I'd probably fancy us more to sign a centre forward if I didn't think so much that he likes Diaz there. But I do still think he's going to sign a centre forward.
Oh, that's coming.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think your point is, I don't think we buy any stopgaps anymore. I don't, that you're buying players for the first team, and the good thing, whatever you do with Salah, you're buying the next buy on that wing needs to be his replacement, and maybe that was just the one they wanted wasn't quite there in the summer for whatever reason, or they didn't quite know exactly what Slot wanted. Blah blah blah. Hopefully they do, but Salah's replacement, people going out and Burmo, it might be him. But let's be honest, it's going to be a 22 or 23-year-old lad who you've not really heard loads and loads about unless you're mad up on football, who's got fucking tons of pace, is really direct, and he'll be a bit more like Diaz than Salah, I would guess, but younger and faster is what it'll look like, because you don't replace Salah no matter what you do you? But anyway, plenty of those conversations to be had. I feel certain of it, because it is when it is. We had a little super chat. I think we've probably discussed this on previous weeks, but Amika Agu asks, how would you for a Scousers view Trent if he left for free? We've definitely answered that one. The problem with this is, isn't it, Chloe? It depends almost how it all goes down. I don't think anyone's going to be happy to see Trent leave. He
can win a league and I still won't like him if he leaves for free to Madrid. It's just how it is.
Yeah, I think the Liverpool fan Scouser in me finds it unfathomable that he wants to go to Real Madrid.
If we were crap.
Yeah, if we were,
and if there was like Jurgen Klopp's left, the next manager, there's turmoil. It could take another 3 years to rebuild. Totally get that, but the circumstances are not that.
If we were sixth, it's you do what's best for you.
Exactly.
We know what that feels like. That happened to us for 20 years. We've had that over.
Suarez left, and I was like,
Barcelona.
Okay.
Of course, South America wants to play for Barcelona. I always say, shock. This is different.
I've said this before. If he just comes out and says, I'm a Liverpool fan, born and bred, I've lived my whole life in the city, I've won, I have achieved all of my dreams, and I just want to go and have a new experience in my life, I wouldn't be happy, because I don't want to see any good player in his prime leave Liverpool, but I could respect that, and it would soften the blow to some extent. But if it's not handled right at the moment, I'm just getting a bit annoyed by the whole thing. So yeah, okay, cool. More from us on the Biased Football podcast over on redmenplus.com, which you can get here on YouTube if you subscribe at the top tier membership. It is more expensive, but you can also alternatively go to redmenplus.com and get the full whack of what we do over there. And we're going to be discussing Everton being shit. Who else has been shit? Chelsea have been shit. That's Arsenal. Good. Arsenal have been shit as well. And yeah, we're going to have a little bit. We'll feel loads better by the end of all that. So come and join us for that show. Other than that, thank you for watching, subscribing, 5-star reviews and all that kind of shit. And we'll be with another one next week. Bye.